Welcome to this Steegle.com video how-to for Google Calendar Essentials. This is an introduction into Google Calendar to show you what it can do for you and those things that you need to know to make the best out of using Google Calendar. Let's take a very quick look at what Google Calendar offers as an overview. On the left I have a mini calendar, so I can go and look at dates in the future or the past. I can view the calendar in either a week view, which it's currently on, a day view, just to see the whole of a day, a month view, the 4-day view, which you can configure to be a certain number of days, and it always puts the day on the left and then the next few days on the right. And then I've got agenda view, which is a chronological list of meetings and upcoming events. I can look at tasks. Google Calendar provides a tasks feature as well, so when you open that you can add tasks on the right. I can also look at contacts, birthdays and anniversaries. That's a special feature that Google Calendar uses. It takes the dates and birthdays and anniversaries you add to your Google contacts and automatically displays them on a calendar for you. And also I've added some UK public holidays. You'll find that there are various calendars with holidays for your location as well. So let's have a look at what we're going to cover in detail in this video. We're going to look at how to create events and invite guests, share, create and add calendars. We're going to look at resource calendars, which is something available for Google Apps for business and education users. We're going to look at the difference between reminders and notifications and how to configure them. And we're going to also see how we can access your calendar offline. So let's look at creating events and inviting guests. There's several ways we can create and edit events, and the first way we'll demonstrate is how you can use your mouse and click and drag. If I want to make an appointment today at 11 till 12, I click and drag with my mouse from 11 till 12. If I want it longer, I just drag further and I let go with my mouse. It then asks me to add a title to the event. I'm going to say it's a meeting. Click create event and it's in your calendar. You can use click and drag to move the appointment around if you've put it at the wrong time or on the wrong day. And you can also use click and drag on the bottom of the event to alter its duration to make it longer or shorter. That's how you can use click and drag to create an appointment. Google Calendar also offers the quick add feature. The quick add is available on the little drop down arrow next to the create button. This allows you to type in a event title, and it also can recognize from what you type in when you would like it. So if I want a meeting tomorrow at 10 AM, I can type that in and use the add button, and as you can see the meeting immediately appears. It's a very quick way to add your appointments. We can look at using the create button. The create button is a big red button on the left, and this gives you the full editor for the appointment or event. So again, I could configure another meeting. You can choose the day in which you want to start it. We'll do it for a few days time. Again, you can pick a start and end time. You can either choose from the drop down lists, or you can just type in your own time. You can choose whether you want it to be all day, so it doesn't have a start and end time. You can choose whether you want the event to repeat weekly, monthly, every day, once a year. You can choose where the location is going to be, and this box will automatically complete with information from Google Maps. So as you type in somewhere you want to be, I'm going to go to Buckingham Palace, it can automatically complete that from data from Google Maps. If it wasn't a physical meeting and you were having a video call, you can add a video call if you're a Google Plus user, and you can also add in a description of what the event is about. Use the save button and then that meeting will appear on your calendar. There's a couple of ways in which you can edit events. If I go to any appointment and I click on anywhere but the title, I get the little pop-up bubble telling me some of the details. I can then use the edit event link, and this will take me straight into the editor. If I click directly on the title of the event, that will take me directly into the editor and I don't need to click twice. Any changes I make in here will again appear immediately on the calendar, straight away for you to be able to see. Let's take a look at how we can invite other people to this calendar. Again, let's take my meeting. I'll go and edit that meeting. And on the right hand side we have the feature that allows us to add guests. So I can add someone else to this event. I can just type in their email address and add them. And when I click on save, it'll ask me if I want to send them an invitation. I do, so I'll click send. And that will send an invitation off to them. Now when I look at the bubble, I can see that I have two people listed. The calendar editor at the moment is grey because they have not yet responded, and then there's myself, and I'm going because I created the event. It's very handy to be able to add people in, but it would be really nice if we were able to find a time that that person is available before we even invite them to the event. So if I return back to my appointment now and edit it, next to the event details I have a find a time tab. If I look on that, it will then show me all the people who's attending that event, and as you can see there, the calendar editor who I invited is busy at that time. I can then scroll through for a time that's appropriate. That's a Saturday and a Sunday. Monday they're not available either. I can find here that we might be able to schedule the appointment for 12 the following week. As soon as I schedule that appointment and click and drag the times I want, it will alter the meeting times. If I now click on save, again that will send another invitation because we've changed the event details to my invitees, and it's now moved from my calendar and it's now on the Tuesday. We can also look at the suggested times feature. Find a time is great and is visual, but if you're inviting a lot of people to the event, you may find that it's very difficult to see lots of people on Find a Time. Let's demonstrate this now. Again, I'm going to make an event. It's another meeting. And this time I'm going to invite more than one person. Underneath the list of guests, I have the suggested times box, and this will suggest any times that's available on the calendar without me having to go and look. So I can find that there's lots of late night or early morning appointments, but I want something that's a bit more appropriate, not on a weekend, so I can scroll through very quickly to find anything that's available. And as I keep scrolling through, I can find that at 11 o'clock on Tuesday there's a available slot for all of us. If you need to confirm this, you can use Find a Time, and you can see that that's there, an empty slot, but suggested times found it for us. Again, you can then choose to save that and send the invitations out. Let's look at how we now share, create and add calendars. First of all, let's look at how we can share a calendar. Google Calendar has a couple of levels of sharing. So first of all, look at the blanket sharing. We can just share a calendar with others. If I hover over my calendar on the left, a drop down menu appears. If I use that menu, one of the options is I can choose to share this calendar. At the very top, I can choose to share the calendar with others. This is a blanket sharing. This means I have the option to either make the calendar public, or I can, because I'm a Google Apps user, share with everyone else in my domain. I can choose to share with them in my domain or in public with two ways. I can let everyone see all the events, or I can choose just to see free busy information if I don't want anyone to know the details. This then allows me to share my calendar with others, and so everyone can see my appointments. but sometimes that's not appropriate and you need to share your calendar with specific people and give them different levels of permission. I again can go into my calendar sharing, and at the bottom half of the screen I can add a specific person. So I may want to add someone to my calendar to allow them to edit. I type in their email address and add that, and then I can choose what level of permissions they have. I'm going to allow them to make changes to events. That means they can edit events that are on my calendar. Once I've added that calendar, I can then sign in as that person. So now I'm signed in as the editor. And when the editor looks and refreshes their calendar, they will find they have other calendars listed. There is the owner's calendar there, and I can now see that. If I want to hide the appointments, I just click on that calendar and they disappear. If I want to see them again, I just click on them and they reappear. Now if I go to add an event, I can stick it on my own calendar, or I can stick it on the owner's calendar and add it directly to their calendar for them. I've now added that to the owner's calendar, not my own, hence why it's in blue and not green. But if I now switch over to the owner's calendar and choose to refresh the calendar, I can see that that event has come in and that has been added there for me. Sometimes you may want to create a calendar to allow other people to have access to that rather than having access to your personal calendar. So in the My Calendars option on the drop down menu, you can choose to create a new calendar. You can give that calendar a name, so we'll call this the Team Meetings calendar, and I'll create that calendar there. Within a few moments that calendar appears and I now have team meetings. There again I can go out and share that calendar and make people specific editors and owners and viewers of that calendar. So I can add people as editors, I can add people as viewers, and save that. That means I could then, on my own calendar, remove people I don't need to share the calendar with anymore, because they now have access to another calendar where they can edit. So if I sign in as that calendar editor now, again, I can refresh, and I now have the team meetings calendar there, and I can now add events to the team meetings as well as my own calendar. We may find it very handy to be able to see somebody else's calendar. Again, in Google Apps, the calendars are by default shared with everyone in the domain, so I can go and then add other people's calendars to my calendar so I can see what they're up to. In Google Apps, you have add a colleague's calendar. If you're just using a personal calendar, it'll say add a friend's calendar, and you can literally just start typing in people's email addresses and add them that way. So I can now see the calendar viewer. I can see that they've got various meetings on there, and I can choose a different colour for their appointments if I wish to make them stand out, whichever's better for me. Also, Google Calendar puts diagonal lines across this just to make it more visible that it's not my own calendar and that it is somebody else's that I cannot edit. You can also add other interesting calendars too. From the Other Calendars option, you can use the drop-down menu and choose Browse Interesting Calendars, where you can have public holidays, sports events, or if you have things in your domain that you can add resource calendars using this method as well. Now we're going to look at the resource calendars. Now this is a feature which is only available for Google Apps for Business and Education users. A resource calendar is slightly different is in that it's not owned by a particular person, it's owned by the domain. So to be able to create a resource calendar, you have to be a Google Apps domain admin. If you're not, you may need to ask your admin to do this for you. They would need to sign into the control panel and go to the Google Apps settings. And once in the Google Apps settings, then they need to choose the Google Calendar. There they can choose to make resources, and they can create a new resource calendar. We'll create a meeting room, and that's a room for us to use, and you can give a description. It's on the first floor, and you can save those changes. After a brief period of time, that resource calendar will again appear for the domain admin to be able to see, and this resource calendar has its own special email address that can be used to add the calendar. So if we go and look at the details of that meeting room, we see we have a rather long email address which identifies the calendar, and if I switch to a domain admin calendar, I can then choose to add that just using its email address. After a brief moment, you can see that the meeting room has been added to my calendar. Once it's now added to my calendar, I can then share that calendar with other people to use. Again, just the same way as before, we can go and share the calendar, and we can add people in just using their email addresses. You can choose what level they have access, and make sure you save those changes. Now when this user signs back into the calendar or refreshes their calendar, they'll be able to see they now have the meeting room available, and then this user, because they were allowed to manage the sharing, can then share it on with other people too. So let's now take a look at how we actually use a resource calendar. Obviously we can use it like any other calendar, and we can schedule tasks in there and choose to make them directly on the calendar. But also your meeting room or your resource calendars will appear as actual resources for you to add to an existing appointment. Let's make a new appointment and edit its details. So now can we not only add guests, but we can also look at the rooms we have available to us, and we can see there that the meeting room is someone that we can invite to the calendar. Any invitations sent to the meeting room will get automatically accepted and appear on the calendar for us to use and everyone else to see. I can now see that I have it on my calendar and also in the meeting room, and I didn't directly add it there. Now let's have a look at reminders and notifications. First of all, we need to know what the difference between a reminder and a notification is. A reminder is something purely for the calendar owner. The calendar owner will get a reminder through various ways, whatever they choose, to remind them that the appointment's upcoming. A notification is different, however. That's an email sent to tell you about activity that's happening on the calendar. So let's have a look at some reminders. First of all, you can set your default reminder for all your events. If you go into your calendar settings, you can then go and have a look at your list of calendars. And when you look at the list of calendars, you can set the reminders and notifications for each particular calendar. We can set the default reminders. Here I've set to remind me 1 hour before each appointment, or 1 hour every day. Or if I want to be really prepared, I can choose to get an email reminder 1 week before. There's a third option as well. That's to receive a reminder via SMS text message, and you have to verify your mobile phone with Google so that it will allow you to receive the text messages, so Google aren't spamming anyone with texts. Once you've saved your default reminders, when you go back to your calendar and make a new event, all the default reminders are there on the bottom, so if there's one that you don't need, you can get rid. And if you want to add your own specific events, you use the add reminder. To add a specific reminder for an event, all you need to do is edit that event, and then you can use the add reminder link to add more reminders to suit you. Notifications are emails telling you what's happening on the calendar. So say for instance we made our team meetings calendar, I can go and choose the reminders and notifications for that particular calendar. Because this calendar is edited by other people, I might want an email telling me when someone's added a new event. So I can tick the box for email. Again, if I've verified my mobile phone, I can have an SMS message as well. But I might want to get events for everything, so that I know what's happening on that calendar all the time. So I can choose to have emails about new events, changed events, cancelled events, event responses, and also get a daily agenda email at 5 AM every morning to tell me what's going to happen on that calendar throughout that day. You need to save those settings and you'll get those as emails. We've set our notification preferences, so now we're going to have a look at how we can get our calendar when we're offline. Google Calendar offline has a few requirements. First of all, we must be using the Google Chrome web browser, as it's the most advanced and has only got the technology in to be able to use the offline features. So once you're using Chrome, you then need to go to the Google Chrome Web Store, which you'll find on your apps menu for Google Chrome. And once you're in the web store, you can do a search for Google Calendar because you need to install the Google Calendar app. Once you've found the Google Calendar app, you need to add that to your Google Chrome instance. And this will add an icon to your menu of apps for Google Chrome. There it is. Once you've added the Google Chrome Calendar app, you then need to go to your calendar and choose to enable offline. On the settings menu, you find you have an offline option. If you use that option, it will say that you need to install a Calendar app if you haven't got it already. But if you have the Calendar app already, when you go to switch it on, it'll ask you if you wish to enable it. When you choose to enable it, it'll start a synchronization, and that's taking a copy of your calendar appointments and place them offline for you. Once the synchronization is complete, you can then choose to disable or go and check your offline settings. Your offline settings will then allow you which calendars you want to see offline. By default, it just picks your own calendar, but then you can pick other calendars as well, so that you can still see other calendars while you are offline. Make sure you save those changes, and when you again go and look at the settings menu, hopefully you should have a green tick next to offline, showing you that it's ready to use offline. Now what we'll do is we'll simulate what happens when you go offline. As you can see, I've now gone offline and it's telling me that I'm not connected, and now it's giving me the option to connect if I have a connection available. But I can scroll through my calendars and still see the appointments I have. I can look at other people's calendars that I've chosen to have offline. And if I go and try and view a calendar that I haven't taken offline, when I start to scroll through the appointments, it'll tell me it cannot load my events because I'm no longer online. And when I return online, I can use the connect option and Google Calendar will automatically see that I'm back online and I can continue to use my calendar. That's the essentials of Google Calendar now covered. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we can see you again soon.